Recording started.
Yes.
All right. Welcome back to the Unpopular Playground. We are here today to discuss family boundaries, which that's a biggie. And with Jen, say hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Say hi, Ramon.
How you doing, Ramon? What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? There you go.
We're a good, happy group here. Ramon, you want to start us off today with some tips on family boundaries?
Oh man, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big, wide,
Sure
kind of
is.
top topic here. But to kind of piggyback off the last discussion about friendships, I'm gonna say that with family too, it comes back to the self, right? If you put yourself first, then you shouldn't be so quick to please other people or to make other people feel better. You can't control how someone feels.
Right.
So whether it's your parents, your cousins, your aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever it is, you know the relationship. Not all family relationships are that strong or that loving. So you already know personally what kind of boundaries you need to put up, how high those walls need to go. When you put yourself first, n- you're not trying to please people. And that's just what it comes back to me for. At least that's been my lesson in the past few months or years of my life, on my journey. That's what life has taught me, just to put yourself first. It may sound kind of messed up and wrong and selfish, but like you have to. The same way you have in the past used the analogy of when you're flying on an airplane and they say put your oxygen mask on first. That's
Yeah.
what, yeah. So
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
And how about you, Jen? What's your feelings on family boundaries?
Well, I have been blessed with a great family. I love my mom, my brothers, my siblings, and we all get along, and there's virtually no family drama. Everybody gets along. Probably growing up, we did have some challenges when you have remarriages and people get married and you're smaller and you don't understand that dynamics and your mom and dad aren't together anymore. That was hard because you feel left out, especially if they have another child. And then it's like, okay, well, that's their real family. And you feel somewhat put aside and you feel like, I think I'm not the only one. I think when you're the kids of a broken relationship, you make a lot of assumptions in your head. And I kept up that resentment and I didn't voice it out. I didn't have that conversation with my mom until much later in life. And I wish I would have had it sooner. I wish I would have said to my mother, this is how I'm feeling. I wish that I would have had that conversation sooner because our relationship when I was younger would have been stronger earlier. And when you make assumptions and you don't have those conversations with how you're feeling, I think it's hard. But making the effort to reach out and say, this is how I'm feeling. Is this the way that it really is? At least then you would either know. And what she told me was very beautiful. And I discovered this in teaching as well, because you are like a mother. It is like a family relationship when you're teaching. And you have kids with different needs, and you think that there's favorites, but there's not. You have favorite things that you love about each one. It's not a particular favorite. I only had one child, and Debbie only had
Yeah.
one child. My mom told me that I give everybody what they need. She gives me things that she doesn't give my brother because they don't need that. And she gives my brother things. But when you're a kid growing up in a family and you see one thing, you make those assumptions. And I would say, even as you get older, your parents are still giving, the relationship dynamics changes, but you think, oh, well, they're only going to their events, they're only going to their functions. And you just see visibly, but you don't see what they're doing behind the scenes for you. And just because you don't see things doesn't mean that the love's not there, doesn't mean that they're not doing things for you behind the scenes. So I would say that you need to keep that relationship open, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
Yes.
I agree. And I think that's the most important thing. And that's what I made a point of doing, raising my own child, because as I was growing up, children did not ask their parents, you know, can I tell you this, or can I express my feelings? Because that got you a slap upside the head or slam with a belt, because what the parents said, that was it. And my thing has always been, to know me is to love me. Why can't you see me and see me for who I am? Not who you think I should be, not who you want me to be, but who I am. Why do you keep questioning why I do this or do that, or keep my stuff in the drawer all crumpled up? It's like, that's who I am. Stop trying to change me and stop trying to, beat me into submission. And when I had my daughter, I always made it a thing. We would sit down and we talked, and I would say to her, you can tell me anything, but before we start the conversation, I want you to tell me, do you want to talk to me as your mom, or do you want to talk to me as you would talk to me as a friend? A friend, I will give you advice as a friend would give you. And as a mom, we'll talk about it a little bit differently. Because then I knew exactly who my child was. I wasn't trying to make her be me, because Lord knows she's not. But but it's just one of those things. And it's funny because when I got married, I mean, many eons ago, I told my husband, to know me is to love me, but you got to understand, I'm never going to change. And there would be times he'd go, why do you have to curse? And I'd be like, now, when you met me, I cursed. Why would you think I was going to change? I grew up in the rodeo scene. It was a rough life, good life. I enjoyed it, but it was a whole different thing. I wasn't an altar boy like you. And 20 years later, he'd say, why do you have to use that word? And it's like, are you serious? 20 years later, you're still asking me the same question? I mean, this me. Why do I have to do this? Wait, it's just me. Why do I have to? It was just different things. And it's like, you know me, just love me the way I am. And I mean, it just is one of those things. And towards the end of his life, and that he finally said, oh, yeah, you're right. You are you, and there will never be another you. But
Yeah.
that problem, people don't get to know you for who you are. And that's the biggest problem. That's why family dynamics don't make your family be who you want them to be or expect them to be. Allow them to be themselves and get to know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's well said. Family is like rings that were forced on you, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, family, yeah, I think there's a certain level of, I know a lot about expectations last episode, but, there's a level of expectations probably with family, depending on the level. If it's your parent, if it's your sibling, if it's your extended family, right? We
Yeah,
all
there's a
have these.
hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's the word I'm trying to find, Jen. And you already have these assumptions and maybe even expectations, which we shouldn't have. So there's that cluster right there. Right. And then, you guys both brought up good points about like kids need different things, right? Like I like when Jen said, I give each kid what they need.
Right.
So like this kid may not need what you're giving this other kid, but they need it. So you do that. Okay. And then Debbie, my takeaway of yours from your discussion was the change in societal norms, how and I think part of it is we're all as a whole kind of raising our level of consciousness, right? So I think like some of the traditional ways that we've done things like parenting, we've just done it just because like that's just the way that we're supposed to do it, quote unquote, right?
Mhm.
That's the way our parents parent us, so we just keep on doing the same thing. But now I think now we're getting out of that, it's more of like we're doing things on a conscious level as far as like parenting and the way we kind of,
Intentional.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So,
Intentional, yeah.
right. So anyway, there's a lot to unpack in all this, and I might need to bring this up again on a different show.
My closing would be that I really love, Debbie, how you brought up about the individuality of everybody.
Mm.
It seems like so many family dynamics, you can't tell where one begins and the other ends.
Right.
They're so unhealthily enmeshed into one another. Nobody is an individual anymore. And it's like, well, I can't do this because I have to ask my family. It's like, you're 25. Why are you asking? Why do you have to go ask your family? You live by yourself, you're married. And
Yeah.
why are you asking your family? Or they're so enmeshed with their kids that they don't have time for themselves. I think it's really important for everybody. I would just close that everybody needs to be an individual and have their me time. Kids need
Right.
their me time. Moms need their me time. Everybody needs their me time so that they can have time to figure out what they want so that they know you're not projecting a future for your kids that they don't want and vice versa. That, when your kids leave the house, moms and dads should be able to have their own dreams and they should want their kids to leave the house. Nobody wants a kid living in the basement until they're 45. So that's how I would end it.
And
At
on
least for now.
another note, don't compare your children to their siblings or to the neighbor's kids. Don't let them hear, why can't you be more like so and so? That's the worst thing because they're not so and so. They don't have the same DNA. They don't live in that household. Children are different. Let them be who they are. You're not giving them the opportunity to strive to be themselves. And on that happy note, bye.
Yes.
Bye.
I know.
Stay curious.
Next time.